Episode 6 of Ahsoka kicks off in hyperspace as Ahsoka Tano and Huyang continue their journey to the other galaxy in the mouth of a purrgil. Huyang actually mentions the fact that they are in the mouth of a purrgil and says that he's now done it all, commenting on the peculiarity of the situation. Ahsoka responds by telling Huyang that she remembers the stories he used to tell her and the other younglings at the Jedi Temple regarding the purrgils, and they talk about this until Ahsoka tells Huyang that, in her vision, she saw Sabine willingly go with the enemy, and Ahsoka believes she didn't have enough time to prepare for her to make the correct decision. Huyang replies by saying perhaps for Sabine that was the only choice, and as the camera transitions into the intro, Huyang, as requested by Ahsoka, begins retelling one of the aforementioned stories from her younger years, beginning with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. As we arrive on the hyperspace ring carrying Morgan Elsbeth, Baylan, and Shin, we see Sabine resting in her containment cell until Baylan passes by the door. With this, Sabine bolts to the door and reminds him that they had a deal and that Baylan promised Sabine she would see Ezra. However, he simply walks away. They eventually arrive at their destination in the other galaxy on the planet of Peridea. This ancient planet was home to the original race of Dathomirian witches and clearly still houses some, as we soon discover. Once they actually land on the planet below, they are met with 3 witches, who Elsbeth greets and asks to summon Thrawn. As the others wait for the arrival of Grand Admiral Thrawn, Sabine is shackled and kept in a holding room made of stone and sealed by magic. Also in the process of waiting, Baylan tells Shin about how the planet they are currently on was essentially a fairy tale that they learned of at the Jedi Temple, and goes on to share that when he was a little older than Shin, he watched the Jedi Temple burn and the galaxy that he was familiar with crumble and reform itself under the regime of the Galactic Empire. He continues by saying that if you look at history and the fall of the Jedi and rise of the Empire, this sort of thing happens again and again, basically saying that power always switches hands eventually. Shin replies by asking her master if it's their turn to control the power, and Baylan responds by saying he's after a different kind of power. He seeks a new beginning, one where he can end the aforementioned cycle. Nonetheless, we soon see the approach of a giant Star Destroyer, Thrawn's Chimera, and as the others board the vessel, we witness the entire army that remained loyal to Thrawn. As the camera pans up to the figure marching through the ranks, we see Lars Mikkelsen, the voice of Thrawn in Rebels, as the Grand Admiral. Now, before we continue, I have a bit of a theory. I think that perhaps these soldiers are reincarnated because not only do they act a little different from what we are used to in Stormtroopers, and if I remember correctly, many of them died in the finale of Rebels, but they also have many cracks in their armor and helmets, and are patched together with red cloth, similar to the material we see on the Dathomir Night Sisters. I'm not entirely sure if this is true, as again it's just a theory, but I wanted to put it out there, just in case the idea does come to fruition. Anyhow, Thrawn is of course in an alliance with Elsbeth, but is unfamiliar with Baylan and Shin, and as a result, is familiarized with them by Elsbeth. Baylan tells Thrawn that he believed the prisoner, referring to Sabine, would be of use, and Thrawn agrees, and says that that name is already familiar to him. With the intention of using Sabine to locate Ezra on the planet, and having Baylan and Shin kill them when she finds him, Thrawn allows Sabine to travel the planet and look for Ezra, even giving her a mount and weapons to defend herself, which she uses later on against local hunters. Interestingly, when Baylan and Shin leave to travel behind Sabine, Thrawn reveals to Morgan Elsbeth that he isn't concerned with the possibility of Baylan and Shin being left behind and stranded on the planet if it comes to that. Regardless, after surviving the encounter with the hunters, Sabine, with the help of the K9S creature she was given as a mount, eventually finds creatures that can hide under their backs, which look identical to rocks. One of them points at the symbol of the Rebel Alliance on her pauldron and shows her the exact symbol on a necklace it's wearing. Sabine takes this as a sign and asks the creature if it knows who Ezra Bridger is, and with that, the creatures lead her to their camp, where Sabine would find Ezra Bridger living amongst them. Meanwhile, as Ezra and Sabine have their happy reunion, Baylan and Shin come across the bandit Sabine took down earlier, and after some conversation, Shin asks Baylan if he misses the Jedi Order, and he responds by saying he misses the idea of it, but not the weakness. They are interrupted as they discover more of the hunters, but as Shin is ready to attack, Baylan tells her to settle down, and that the enemy of their enemy is their friend, for now. Now, the camera transitions back to Thrawn, and he is informed by the three witches from earlier that an imminent threat will soon arrive in the form of Ahsoka Tano. While Morgan Elsbeth tells him Ahsoka was killed by Baylan, Thrawn does not underestimate her and says that they should prepare accordingly, desiring information on her such as her background, history, home world, and even her master. Now this is interesting, as we as the viewers know her master to be Anakin Skywalker, who I believe Thrawn knows is the general from the Clone Wars that turned to the iniquitous Darth Vader. With that said, Thrawn doesn't know that Vader/Anakin is the one who taught Ahsoka the ways of the Force, so it will be interesting to see his reaction to that very information. Nevertheless, the episode ends with Thrawn ordering Elsbeth to destroy any Purrgil that enters the space around Peridea, and him requesting once again to use the magic of the ancient Night Sisters, which may or may not support the theory I made earlier, but I find it intriguing that he's asking to use their dark magic again, as though he's already done so in the past. Anyhow, I hope you all enjoyed the breakdown, and I can't wait until next week's episode. Have a great day. See ya.